Our driver is Redev.
Yeah, I saw that.
Mm-hmm.
Must be the one that's worth all the points.
How about I turn on my mic?
Oh, hi, Paul.
Hey. Sorry about that. Had a random nosebleed situation.
Oh. Okay.
It's all good now.
That's good.
Uh,
I tried to drive as the banner itself, and discovered that that's not like it's not a workable solution.
Yeah, we've been doing science here.
Mm-hmm.
although I do notice that Gazebo is not the driver anymore.
No, it is not Gazebo.
Our something has happened to our precious Gazebo.
All the other shifts spend just way too much time. Like, we send our Gazebo off into the past its 6 hours. We're like, okay, we'll let you go, and perhaps we will see you again, and then we
get
come
its
back
backpack ready for the first day of school.
Yeah,
get it, pack its lunch, everything.
We read the first part, didn't we? The really important part about how you had to take care of it first.
Yeah,
everyone heard that.
Yeah, absolutely. You can name it like Rocco or something. Wait, was it Rocco? Bruno.
Brutus.
Right. You name it Brutus, and then when it doesn't come to you, that means it's healthy. And I mean, we went over all this, yes.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of like, I can't believe that we would let little Gazebo go, and then they're gone forever.
Rip.
Also, apparently they got 3 points in one
6-hour shift.
In 1 6-hour shift. So they found some sort of speedrunning strategy that we got to check out. I'm very impressed.
Definitely clipped frames there, yeah. God, I remember the device doing all sorts of shenanigans. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I never did that, though.
No.
Because it was just manipulating the controller.
Yeah.
And sometimes breaking it. But yeah, the number of things that it turned out found that you could do through just controller manipulation was impressive. The like drifting or the ice or whatever, the like wobble, the reversing the directions.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I did like that there was an auto drive function, that it was if you cracked it lucky enough, you're like, turn on the device, it's like, okay. And then it went off and you're like, oh, it's automatically driving. I rolled and I won. Good for me.
What I liked about the auto drive was that it honked the horn periodically, every couple seconds. So so you knew, for one thing, you knew it was auto driving because it would go bam, 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 bam. And that was so that if it did do the full 8 hours to get to the end, it had to push start in order to reverse and go around back the other way. And so because start does nothing when you're not actually at one of the ends, you just pushed it periodically.
I thought we were doing the intro to Purple Haze. Sorry.
Oh.
Paul went bam, and then you went bam, and I was like, right, that's bam, 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 bam. Right. Yeah.
Purple Haze.
Bam,
bam, bam, bam, bam.
All right. Got to be careful. We don't want to get ourselves muted here. You're
exactly
too accurate in our portrayal of Purple Haze. Yeah, sadly we did not. Sadly we had to disconnect the device at some point. I think the second year we were using it, it started to have some serious issues.
It tried to take control and make its own decisions.
But it was a very impressive setup. Because at that point it was very important that we really wanted to be playing on a real Sega console. So we didn't want to, like, obviously you could hack the ROM of the game to do all sorts of stuff, but the idea that this device was just something that actually sent controller commands,
intercepted, and was networked.
I had a thought one year that because Desert Bus doesn't really rely upon, I'm not the only one who ever had this thought. I ended up having discussions with people. I think I talked to Sean about this too, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I've been thinking about the same thing." But I know other people have thought about this because whenever I brought it up, other people are like, "Yeah, I've been thinking about that too." Taking just the Desert Bus portion off the CD and just getting it onto like a Sega Genesis EverDrive type situation, just like put it on a cartridge, even if it's a ROM cartridge.
And there's no particular reason it has to run on a Sega CD, really.
Exactly.
Like, it's not like it's like, I mean, maybe you'd have to strip out the opening video of Penn and Teller explaining it, but
you just basically make it just go straight to the Desert Bus thing showing up on screen, and then like, okay, here we go, we're starting the game, and you're good to go. And I love that idea, but because we always, as you say, we want to keep it on a official Sega console, right? Like even the licensed Sega console is still a Sega console. And that doesn't mean we should just be able to play Desert Bus as a ROM on a Dreamcast, I don't think.
Right.
I mean, unfortunately, that sort of went out the window when we switched to the Cloud Bus, obviously.
Right.
Which was
necessary.
Yeah. But because obviously when you're doing it in an emulator, you can do like frame skipping and all kinds of stuff like that. But
right. But it does make me wonder if now that Sega has made those little Genesis Minis, which are just a bunch of ROMs on a FPGA emulated whatever, I'm like, does that count? It's still an official Sega product. It's an official Sega game console, and it is a Sega Genesis technically. Does it count?
Interesting. Mr. Flip in the chat is saying that apparently, I thought the Sega CD was mostly just about giving it more storage space and better sound thing, but apparently it did also have extra CPU stuff in it, so maybe it wouldn't be possible. But
I mean, you'd have to do a wholesale rewrite of Desert Bus to run on a Sega Genesis. To basically,
at a certain point, what do you have to remake it and then demake it, and then unmake it. Yeah, I always figured that the Sega CD was just basically a thing that made it so that the Sega could have a ton more space. That's why Sega CD games were huge. Like the main thing Sega CD games had was like the full motion video stuff. Because they could just load in tons of uncompressed video and sound.
And that way it was like, I guess, therefore, then it's using the Sega CD CPU for all of that playback stuff. Right.
But apparently that's not the case. Interesting. All those old, all the like neat, weird things that all these old consoles had were super cool. In the way, there's a YouTube channel that I like called Game Hut.
Yeah.
That is a guy who did a ton of programming for original Sega CD and Sega and Sega Saturn. And some of that stuff, and it goes deep in depth and stuff. It was one of those things where like you could just program games normally for them and they would work sort of okay, but if you knew the hardware and you could get down and like, because each system had these, as well as its CPU, it had all these like extra very specific purpose CPUs. So if you could write your code in a way that could be understood by these sort of special co-processing units, you could do some amazing stuff. But it would do like one type of calculation really, really fast. So you have to figure out how to like change all the math you're doing into this one type of calculation.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes you just do bit shifting for that reason. Well, I mean, if you're on an older machine, there's no reason to do that now.
Yeah, I mean that's now you're just doing whatever you want to do, but it was neat. It's neat to see how these things work, or like how they doing like cool 3D effects by actually just like doing horizontal interrupts on the screen and stuff. Fancy stuff. And none of it necessary anymore because we just throw more CPU power at it.